Hey guys, tonight we begin with the rowdy, smoky, and slightly sticky world of the medieval tavern. The unsung heart of every town, the unofficial news center, and the only place where a knight, a farmer, and a bard could all get equally drunk and equally robbed. It wasn't just a place to drink, it was a place where danger, laughter, and disease mingled freely beneath a thatched roof. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You've trudged through a muddy street that smells like a blend of horse, smoke, and questionable soup. It's raining, of course, or just finished, so everything's slick, including your only pair of shoes. You're tired, you're hungry, and you've nearly been run over by a cart full of turnips twice. You need a drink. So, how do you find a tavern in a medieval town? There are no glowing signs, no Yelp reviews, and certainly no GPS. What you do have are your ears. Just follow the noise. Somewhere past the blacksmith's forge and the fishmonger yelling about his fresh river eels is a chorus of laughter, shouting, and someone aggressively singing about a goose. And there it is, a crooked wooden building leaning slightly as if even the architecture has had one too many. Hanging above the door is a wooden sign, barely legible, with a crude painting of something that might be a barrel, a bear, or maybe both. Either way, this is it. Welcome to the tavern. The front step is slick with ale, and as you push open the heavy iron-hinged door, it lets out a creak so long and dramatic it might qualify as its own form of entertainment. Instantly, warm air and the rich perfume of smoke, wet wool, stale beer, and mystery meat hit your face like a drunken handshake. You've made it. Inside, the ceiling is low enough to make tall men duck and drunk men bump their heads. The floor is dirt, not metaphorically but literally, though someone has laid down straw in an attempt to pretend it's cleaner. It isn't. There are no private booths, no waiters with menus, and no such thing as quiet conversation. This is a medieval tavern, and it only comes in two settings, rowdy and closed due to fire. You spot an open seat at a lopsided bench near the hearth, but it's wet with what, you don't ask. Someone nearby is arguing about a stolen chicken. Another is passed out with a ladle still in his hand. A one-eyed dog gnaws on a bone under a table like he pays rent there. And this, friend, is just the entrance. You've only just arrived, and already it smells like a night to remember, or forget. As the heavy tavern door slams shut behind you, the darkness wraps around your senses like a damp wool blanket, warm, uncomfortable, and slightly suspicious. Your eyes adjust slowly. Candlelight flickers against soot-stained walls, casting dancing shadows that make even the chairs look like they might pick a fight. The hearth blazes in the far corner, doubling as both heating and open flame hazard. Smoke drifts lazily in the air, not quite escaping through the chimney that might be stuffed with a dead crow. But what hits you hardest isn't the noise or the heat, it's the smell. A medieval tavern scent is less aromatic and more emotional trauma. The top notes are ale, warm, sour, and splashed liberally across every surface. Beneath that, sweat, years of it, human, horse, and maybe something mythical. Add a hint of moldy bread, wet straw, and a whisper of boiled onions, and you have a blend no perfumer has dared bottle. The tables are carved with years of initials, crude drawings, and knife scars. They wobble with a kind of stubborn pride. The benches creak under the weight of muddy boots, thick cloaks, and questionable decisions. The floor, dirt as promised, is layered with straw meant to soak up spills, spit, and the occasional unconscious customer. You step carefully. One wrong move, and your foot sinks into something with a texture best left undescribed. The crowd is a living, breathing organism. Loud laughter erupts in one corner while two men argue about the price of a pig in another. A woman slams a mug down hard enough to spill half her drink, and no one even flinches. A man at the next table stares at you with the dazed look of someone who's either thinking very deeply or forgetting how chairs work. Someone nearby sneezes. The entire left side of the room collectively leans away. And still, despite the overwhelming assault on your modern sensibilities, there's something welcoming here. The tavern is alive. It's rough, raw, and completely unfiltered, the medieval version of a community hub, minus the hygiene, and with 400% more shouting. You find your seat. It's a bit damp. It's probably cursed. But, for now, it's yours. At first glance, the tavern's layout looks like someone arranged the furniture during an earthquake, and then just decided to leave it that way. There's no blueprint, no bar area, no cozy booths in the back, just a sprawling, uneven spillage of tables, benches, barrels, and the occasional wooden crate being passed off as a seat. Everything is too close together or too far apart, depending on how drunk you are. The hearth is the only real centerpiece, a big open fire roaring against one wall, doing its best to provide warmth, light, and a healthy dose of indoor smoke inhalation. Around it, people crowd in for comfort, like moths with mugs. Those with the best seats hog the warmth. Those without? Well, that's what ale is for. The bar, if you can call it that, is usually just a thick wooden plank resting across two barrels sagging under the weight of jugs, mugs, and elbows. Behind it stands the tavern keeper, multitasking between pouring drinks, yelling orders, and giving that one guy in the corner the death stare of, "You still haven't paid for last Tuesday." There are no menus. You ask what's available and brace yourself. The answer is usually ale or shut up and wait. A narrow staircase, possibly original, definitely splintery, leads to the upstairs rooms. If you squint, you can see a boot hanging from one of the railing posts. No one's entirely sure if it's decorative or a warning. Some taverns have a back room. It might be for storage, illegal gambling, or where the last person who insulted the barmaid was taken, never to be seen again. It's best not to ask. The walls are stained with candle soot, the windows are covered with greasy cloth or animal hide, and every surface has been thoroughly polished by the elbows, boots, and spilled drinks of generations past. And maybe a chicken. Somehow, despite the chaos, or because of it, it works. Everyone knows where to go, how to sit, when to shout, and when to duck. It's not organized, but it is alive. Every medieval tavern has a ruler, and it's not the local lord or the tax collector. It's the tavern keeper. They may not wear a crown, but don't be fooled. This person runs the show, equal parts chef, server, accountant, babysitter, and an executioner of barroom justice. The tavern keeper is a one-person institution, and they take no nonsense. If it's a man, he's likely built like a barrel with arms, grizzled, grumpy, and carved from cured meat and bad decisions. If it's a woman, and often it is, she's sharper than a blacksmith's file and can silence a room with a single look. Either way, they've seen everything, heard worse, and cleaned blood out of straw before breakfast. They greet regulars with a nod, strangers with suspicion, and troublemakers with a tankard to the head. Behind the bar, they keep mental tabs on who's paid, who owes, and who's had three too many, and they do it all without writing anything down, because medieval literacy might be rare, but tavern memory is terrifying. The tavern keeper sets the tone. If they're in a good mood, the place hums. If they're in a bad mood, you'd better drink fast and keep your jokes to yourself. They're the referee in every argument, the judge in every cheating scandal, and the first to grab a club when a fight breaks out. You do not mess with the tavern keeper. They also know everything: who's in debt, who's having an affair, who arrived in town under a false name. Need information? Bribe the barkeep. Need protection? Sit near them. Need a favor? Better hope you didn't break a mug last week. Some have a helper, a son, daughter, spouse, or orphan they sort of adopted, and now make carry barrels twice their weight. These assistants run drinks, mop floors, and try not to spill anything or get stepped on by drunks. So, while the tavern may feel like chaos to you, it's actually a very delicate ecosystem. And in the center, commanding it all like a storm god in an apron, stands the one person keeping the ale flowing and the roof from collapsing into a riot, the tavern keeper. So you finally settle onto a creaky bench, dodging elbows and spilled stew. Your throat's dry, your boots are damp, and it's time for the main event, the drink. But don't expect a wine list or a polished mug. This is a medieval tavern. Your choices are limited, lukewarm, and possibly life-threatening. Let's start with the classic ale, unfiltered, unpasteurized, and usually brewed in the back room where the dog sleeps. It's thick, cloudy, and often comes with floaties, bits of grain, yeast, or possibly a chunk of the previous customer's mustache. It's not cold because there's no ice, and you don't ask how long it's been sitting in the barrel. You just drink and hope. Next up, mead honey wine. Sounds fancy, right? In reality, it's sweet, strong, and occasionally explosive. If the tavern keeper made it themselves, it might be delicious or taste like regret and bee venom. It's usually served to nobles, wedding guests, or that one bard who insists on being paid in gold or mead. Then there's cider, made from apples that were either freshly picked or dropped on the ground 3 weeks ago. It's sharp, tangy, and served in cracked mugs that may double as soup bowls by morning. It's the drink of choice in orchard-rich regions, or for those who want something just alcoholic enough to forget the smell of the man sitting beside them. Wine? Wine? Technically, yes. But unless you're in Southern Europe or the nobility is in town, it's likely watered down, soured, and served with a side of sarcasm. Good wine is reserved for lords, bishops, and the merchant who just sold 12 crates of salt. And water? That's a bold choice because half the time it's teeming with invisible death. Boiling costs fuel, and clean wells are rare. That's why even children drink ale. It's not about the buzz. It's about not dying of dysentery before age 8. No one's measuring shots or crafting cocktails here. You drink from mugs made of wood, clay, or tin. Some still have last night's stew in them. You raise your mug, sniff it, and sip. It's warm, it's bitter, and somehow it's perfect. Because in the medieval tavern, if it's wet and won't kill you immediately, it's a fine vintage. So, you've survived the drink? Barely. Now your stomach growls, reminding you that you haven't eaten since sunrise, and your last meal was mostly barley and sadness. Time to eat. But don't get excited. There's no menu, no waiter, and absolutely no one asking if you have any dietary restrictions. You don't order food in a medieval tavern. You ask what's left, then hope it's hot and only vaguely mysterious. The star of the tavern table is usually pottage, a thick stew made from whatever grains, vegetables, and questionable proteins were lying around that day. It's been cooking in the same pot since Monday, and it's now Thursday. New ingredients are added daily, nothing is removed. It's less of a meal and more of a culinary time capsule. If meat is involved, congratulations. It's probably rabbit, pigeon, or the unlucky chicken who wandered too close to the fire. If it's game meat, it might be delicious or aged past reason and seasoned with desperation. Your bowl is made of wood or clay. Your spoon is either your own or your fingers. Most people carry their own knife, so eating is a bio-cutlery affair. And don't expect napkins, just the sleeve of your tunic or a shared rag that's seen things it'll never forget. Bread is also on offer. It's tough, dark, and heavy, more a weapon than a food. If it's soft, it was baked today. If it's hard, it was baked last week. Either way, it pairs well with cheese that smells like an old boot and has started developing its own personality. Sometimes there's salted fish, sometimes pickled eggs. Occasionally you'll find a tavern offering a special, which is just a fancier way of saying we had too much of this lying around. Flavor, optional. Texture, unpredictable. Still, in the flickering firelight with noise all around and the warmth of food in your hands, it's not bad. It's filling. It's hot. And if you don't think too hard about what's floating in your bowl, it might even be comforting. You're not here for fine dining. You're here to eat like a survivor. Once you've found your seat, ideally one without a knife stuck in it, you start to notice the real entertainment, the people. A medieval tavern is the original social media feed, loud, chaotic, half-true, and fully committed to oversharing. To your left, there's a red-faced farmer already deep into his fourth ale, retelling the same story about his cow giving birth sideways. He slaps your shoulder mid-sentence like you're a lifelong friend or a good replacement for the pig he usually drinks with. At the far end of the room, a hooded stranger sits in shadows, nursing a drink slowly. He could be a runaway monk, a bandit, or just really bad at eye contact. Either way, you're not making small talk with him unless you want to disappear behind the stables. Near the hearth, a soldier in battered armor is regaling a group with tales of battle. His story involves dragons, Frenchmen, and a talking sword. It's definitely false. No one cares. His tankard is full, and his audience is laughing. There's a merchant, loud and sweaty, shouting prices for grain that no one asked for. He pulls gold coins from his pouch like a man begging to be robbed by midnight. A pair of locals play dice on a warped table, their expressions intense. One of them clearly cheats. The other knows and lets it happen, probably saving the fight for when his ale runs out. A bard strums in the corner, voice cracking on the high notes of a love song that sounds suspiciously like one he just made up. No one minds. He's wearing pants, and he's in tune. That's already better than last night's guy. Women wander through the crowd, some tavern staff, others working their own business. They're sharp-eyed, confident, and absolutely not to be trifled with. They'll flirt, laugh, or knock your teeth in depending on your tone. Children occasionally dart between legs, swiping leftover bread or coin. No one stops them. It's just part of the rhythm. Everyone is watching, drinking, plotting, and pretending not to notice the man slumped under the table. This tavern isn't just a place to eat and drink. It's a living, breathing performance. And tonight, you're part of the cast. Forget lutes and ballads for a moment. The real soundtrack of a medieval tavern isn't a song. It's a symphony of chaos. It begins with a clink of mugs, dozens of them slamming against wood in celebration, negotiation, or drunken misfire. Some clang cheerfully, others shatter completely. Both are met with cheers. Then comes the laughter. Big, loud, belly laughter that sounds like it escaped from a wild boar. Most of it makes no sense. A farmer chuckles at his own joke about hay. A knight giggles at the word pottage. A monk wheezes uncontrollably every time someone says duck. You'll learn quickly not to ask. Voices layer over one another, each louder than the last, fighting for dominance like roosters in a coop bout die. There's arguing, storytelling, shouting about taxes, and at least one person misquoting scroting scripture to win a bet. The bartender yells orders while swatting flies. A barmaid shouts at a man who tried to grab her, and someone keeps repeating another round, like a battle cry. And in the corner, the bard with a half-tuned lute and 3 missing strings plays the same 4 chords on loop, occasionally bursting into verses about lost love, found chickens, or noblemen who wore their pants backward. No one really listens unless he starts singing about someone in the room, at which point things get very entertaining or very dangerous. Someone spills something. Someone burps loud enough to make the rafters tremble. Someone else falls off a bench and keeps talking from the floor like it's intentional. In the background, dogs bark. A goat bleats. Why is there a goat? And chairs scrape across dirt like thunderclaps in a wooden cavern. It's not peaceful, but it's oddly rhythmic. Occasionally, the room goes quiet. Not by choice, just a sudden lull. It lasts exactly 3 seconds. Then someone farts heroically, and the music starts again. This isn't background noise. This is the tavern's heartbeat, raw, rowdy, and relentlessly alive. If you listen closely enough, it starts to make sense, a kind of harmony born from disorder. And like the rest of the tavern, it only gets louder the longer you stay. Once the ale starts flowing and the stew starts settling, the tavern transforms. It's no longer just a place to eat and drink. It becomes a medieval casino, minus the velvet ropes and with way more yelling. Gambling is the sport of the evening, and everyone plays from weathered soldiers to barefoot boys with borrowed dice. There's no dealer, no pit boss, no regulation, just a cracked wooden table, a handful of copper coins, and the vague promise that someone's about to lose their dignity. Dice are the game of choice, carved from bone, wood, or whatever was lying around. They clatter across tabletops like rolling thunder, each toss followed by a mix of cheers, groans, and accusations of witchcraft. No one trusts the dice. Everyone uses them. Then there are cards, if you're in a more cultured part of town, thick, hand-painted, worn to the edges, and always missing 1 or 2. The rules shift, based on who explains them. Sometimes you're trying to get the highest number. Other times you're matching symbols, or just making it up as you go. It's like poker, but with more slapping. Wages range from money to mugs to livestock. Yes, someone wants better goat. Someone else bet their boots, and someone else bet their own freedom for the night. Spoiler, he lost. The regulars are slick. They shuffle quickly, roll slowly, and smile a little too wide. Cheating? Of course. It's half the fun. A hidden die here, a marked card there, a mysterious cough when the lucky player leans in. If you win big, you buy a round or risk getting jumped. If you lose badly, you smile, pretend you meant to, and slowly push your chair back toward the door. Side games erupt too, arm wrestling, thumb wars, and the ever-popular who can drink the most without falling over. The winner earns applause. The loser earns a night under the table and a headache that lasts until next market day. But even when the rules are unclear and the stakes are absurd, the energy is addictive. Because in a medieval tavern, luck isn't just a game. It's a gamble with your purse, your pride, and possibly your pants. As the night deepens and the tavern fills with warmth and humidity, a new kind of performance takes the floor, one made of words, music, and confident nonsense. This is story time, medieval style. A bard clears his throat in the corner, gently plucking at a half-tuned lute, the strings squeaking like old boots. He's missing a few teeth, but not a bit of confidence. With a dramatic flourish, he launches into a ballad of heartbreak and heroism, something about a knight who fell in love with a mermaid and drowned nobly while reciting poetry. No one believes him. Everyone listens anyway. That's how it works here. Truth is optional. Entertainment is everything. Around the tables, others join in, not bards, just patrons with ale-fueled bravery and a tale to tell. One man swears he once wrestled a bear and lived to drink about it. Another claims he saw a witch turn a cow into a goat. A third insists he's related to Charlemagne on his mother's cousin's side. Everyone's story begins with, "You won't believe this, but..." And they're right. We don't, but we want to. Boasts become ballads. Mishaps become myths. Someone tells a joke so bad it circles back to being good. Someone else recites a poem likely plagiarized from a monk's scroll. The room claps, hoots, or throws bread depending on the quality or quantity of the performance. If you're lucky, a skald or minstrel might be passing through, professionals who travel from town to town exchanging music for coins, meals, and occasionally a place to sleep indoors. Their songs are polished, their tales long, and their ability to rile up a crowd dangerous. But even they know the golden rule of tavern tales: never let facts ruin a good story. In this smoke-filled room with the fire crackling and the mugs sloshing, storytelling isn't just entertainment. It's tradition. It's connection. It's how you make friends, enemies, and the occasional lifelong drinking partner. By midnight, half the tavern is reenacting the story of the one-legged knight who fought off 6 highwaymen with a ladle. You laugh. You cheer. You forget it's all made up. Because in a medieval tavern, every liar is a legend if the story is good enough. As the night deepens and the ale keeps flowing, something changes in the air, a kind of boozy boldness. The bard is halfway through his 3rd song about unfaithful shepherdesses, and suddenly, everyone's feeling romantic. Welcome to medieval flirting. Subtlety has left the building. It starts with eye contact, or at least one eye, slightly squinting through a mead-induced haze. A man with 2 remaining teeth leans across a bench and slurs, "My lady, your beauty burns brighter than the heart." She responds by hurling a bread crust at his forehead. The room cheers. Others try their luck more gently, offering refilled mugs, clumsy compliments, or offers to help carry a bowl of stew so it doesn't spill. Spoiler, it still spills. If you're a woman in the tavern, staff, guest, or traveling merchant, you're likely used to fending off at least 3 would-be poets, 2 arm wrestlers, and 1 man who tries to impress you by balancing a knife on his nose. Sometimes it works. Usually it ends with a black eye or an empty purse. For those actually seeking companionship, taverns offer more than just flirting. Courtesans work the room with practiced ease, knowing who has coin, who has charm, and who will pass out before making it to the stairs. Transactions are discreet, but the implications are loud. Jealous lovers? Oh, yes. Nothing sparks a tavern fight faster than a stolen glance, a wandering hand, or a husband catching his wife laughing a little too hard at the bard's joke about bishops. Tables are overturned. Mugs are weaponized. A bench gets broken in half again. And yet, somewhere in the middle of all this chaos, genuine sparks fly. A shy baker's daughter and a traveling stonemason laugh over shared stew. 2 drunk farmers bond over a mutual hatred of turnips. A monk accidentally flirts with a nun. Love, or something like it, survives in even the rowdiest corners. Because in the medieval tavern, romance is equal parts charm, chance, and not falling face first into your bowl mid-sentence. You might win a heart. You might earn a slap. Either way, you're going to remember it, or at least hear about it the next morning. It was bound to happen. Maybe someone spilled a drink. Maybe someone accused someone else of cheating at dice. Maybe 2 people claimed the same bench and neither backed down. Or maybe someone said something about someone else's mother, goat, or soup. Doesn't really matter. Suddenly, it's on. The tavern, once a blur of music and mugs, turns on a dime. A stool flies. A tankard crashes to the floor. Someone yells, "Hold my bread," and launches themselves over a bench with all the grace of a drunk catapult. No one is surprised. In fact, most people don't even stop drinking. A bar fight in the Middle Ages isn't rare. It's expected. It's practically a feature. And while it sounds terrifying, it's usually more comedic than deadly. People swing wildly, miss, trip, and land in someone's dinner. Hair is pulled, beards are grabbed, shirts are torn. The tavern keeper roars like a battlefield general while holding a ladle in one hand and a club in the other. Occasionally, someone joins the fight with no idea why. They just saw action and leaped in fists first. Others place informal bets, cheer, or slide their mugs out of splash range. Weapons. Rare. Most folks know better. Pulling a blade in a tavern can turn a casual brawl into a full-blown tavern legend, and no one wants to be banned from the only place that serves hot food and warm ale. Eventually, someone hits the floor and stays there. Someone else stumbles into a wall and decides that's as good a place as any to sit and rethink their life. The fight burns out like a tavern candle, suddenly and without ceremony. And here's the strange part. Once it's over, it's over. The fighters are separated, mugs are refilled, someone starts a song, and within 10 minutes, everyone is laughing again, including the guy with the bleeding nose. The tavern keeper, still clutching the club, mutters about broken stools and adds the cost to someone's tab. Life in the tavern resumes as if nothing happened, because, in truth, this is just another night. But fights aren't the only chaos. There's also the inevitable moment when someone drinks too much and decides they're invincible. This is the guy who tries to juggle mugs, dance on a table, or challenge the one-eyed dog to a staring contest. Spoiler, he loses. The dog always wins. These moments of drunken courage, or stupidity, are as much a part of the tavern's charm as the ale itself. They're the stories people retell for weeks, the ones that make the tavern legendary. As the night wears on, the crowd thins. Some stumble home, others slump into corners, and a few negotiate for a spot by the hearth to sleep. The tavern keeper starts sweeping, muttering about the mess, while the last bard strums a slow, sleepy tune. Upstairs, the rooms are basic. Straw mattresses, a blanket if you're lucky, and a bucket for, well, you know. They're not private. You're sharing with strangers, rats, and probably fleas. If you're too drunk to climb the stairs, you sleep where you fall, table, bench, or floor. The tavern doesn't judge. It just charges you for the privilege. By dawn, the tavern is quiet, save for the snoring and the clatter of the keeper cleaning up. The hearth is cold, the air smells of stale ale, and the magic of the night is gone. But it'll be back. Tonight, the cycle starts again. The medieval tavern isn't just a building. It's a living thing, a place where stories are born, fights are forgotten, and everyone's welcome until they break a mug. It's messy, loud, and smells like regret, but it's also warm, alive, and unforgettable. So, here's to the tavern, where the ale is questionable, the company is worse, and the memories are worth every sticky step. Thanks for joining me tonight. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button. It's free and keeps the tavern fires burning. Subscribe if you want more tales from the past, and let me know in the comments what medieval topic you'd like to explore next. Maybe castles, markets, or the life of a knight? You tell me. Wherever you're watching from, I hope you're cozy and have a mug of something good, preferably without floaties. Until next time, stay curious, stay warm, and maybe don't arm wrestle the tavern keeper. Good night, and may your shoes stay dry on the muddy road home. See you in the next one. As the tavern door swings shut behind you, the cold dawn air bites your face, but the warmth of the night lingers in your bones. You clutch your cloak tighter, dodging puddles and a stray chicken that somehow survived the night's chaos. The town is still asleep, save for the baker stoking his oven and a dog barking at nothing in particular. You can still hear the tavern's laughter in your head, the bard's ridiculous song about a goose echoing like a stubborn ghost. Your purse is lighter, your boots are stickier, but you've got a story or two to tell at the next town's hearth. Maybe you'll mention the farmer who swore he fought a wolf, or the barmaid who juggled mugs better than the bard played his lute. The road ahead is long, and the next tavern might be days away, but the promise of another night like this keeps you moving. You pass a merchant's cart, creaking under barrels that might end up in that very tavern, fueling another round of chaos. For now you hum the bard's tune, smile at the memory of spilled ale, and wonder who you'll meet at the next crooked sign. Because in the medieval world, every tavern is a new chapter, and every mug holds a story waiting to spill. The morning mist clings to the fields as you trudge onward, the tavern's warmth now just a memory fading with the sunrise. Your head throbs faintly from last night's ale, but the thought of the barmaid's sharp wit makes you chuckle despite the ache. A distant church bell tolls, reminding you that the world outside the tavern has rules, taxes, and far less laughter. You pass a shepherd leading his flock, and he nods, perhaps sensing you've survived a night at the tavern he knows too well. The road forks ahead, one path to a market town, the other to a forest rumored to hide bandits, and worse. You choose the market, hoping for a hot meal and in a crowd to share your tale of the one-eyed dog staring contest. By midday, the market's noise greets you. Vendors hawking bread, blacksmiths hammering, and children chasing a stray pig. You trade a copper coin for a loaf of bread. Still warm, and it feels like a small victory after the tavern's sticky chaos. At the market's edge, you spot a familiar face, a merchant from the tavern, still shouting about grain prices. He waves you over, offering a swig of cider and a chance to retell the story of the bard's broken lute strings. The cider's sharp tang cuts through your lingering headache, and for a moment, the market feels like the tavern reborn. You swap stories until the merchant's wife drags him away, scolding him for drinking before the day's sales are done. Alone again, you wander the market, drawn to a storyteller spinning tales of dragons under a tattered canopy. His voice is gravelly, his gestures wild, and you wonder if he's ever shared a mug with the tavern's bard. The crowd tosses him coins, and you add one, hoping your own tavern tale might one day be told like this. As evening falls, you spot a tavern's crooked sign at the market's edge, its door already spilling laughter and light. Your heart lifts. Another night of chaos, stories, and questionable ale awaits, promising new faces and old fights. You push open the door, and the familiar scent of smoke, sweat, and stew welcomes you like an old friend. The keeper glances up, nodding as if you've never left, and points to a bench that's miraculously dry. You sit, ready for whatever this tavern holds, knowing every mug and every fight will weave another thread into your journey's tapestry. The new tavern hums with life as a grizzled sailor at the next table boasts about wrestling a sea serpent during a storm. His story's absurd, but the crowd leans in, mugs raised, as if sea serpents are as common as tavern rats. You sip your ale, cloudy, as expected, and notice a faint whiff of the sea, or maybe it's just the sailor's unwashed cloak. A barmaid weaves through the chaos, dodging elbows and delivering a bowl of pottage that smells suspiciously like last week's. She winks as she sets it down, warning you to eat fast before the one-eyed cat under the table claims it first. Across the room, two merchants argue over a dice game, one accusing the other of using a weighted bone dyed bait. The tavern keeper slams a club on the bar, silencing them, and the game resumes with grudging apologies and extra ale. A lute player starts up, her fingers nimble despite the instrument's cracked body, singing of a knight who loved a ghost. Her voice is soft but piercing, and even the rowdiest patrons pause, caught in the spell of her mournful tune. You tear off a chunk of bread, tougher than the last taverns, and wonder if the ghost story's inspired by someone here. A drunk patron stumbles into you, slurring apologies and offering a sip of his mead as a peace offering. The mead's too sweet, but you nod politely, knowing one wrong word could spark a brawl before the lute's song ends. By the hearth, a group of travelers swap tales of distant lands, one claiming he saw a dragon's shadow in the mountains. Their voices grow louder with each mug, and you can't help but eavesdrop, drawn to the promise of far-off wonders. The night deepens and a chill seeps through the tavern's walls, but the hearth and ale keep the cold at bay. Someone starts a chanty, a sailor's tune, and soon half the room is stomping, sloshing ale with every beat. You join in, clapping off rhythm, and for a moment you're not a stranger, just another voice in the tavern's chorus. A fight nearly breaks out when a sailor accuses a farmer of stealing his mug, but the lute player's quick jest defuses it. The tavern keeper pours you another ale, muttering that you look like trouble but haven't caused any yet. You grin, raise your mug, and settle in, ready for whatever stories, songs, or spills this tavern has in store. As the chanty fades, a wiry old man stands, claiming he once outran a wolf pack with nothing but a stick and courage. The crowd roars with laughter, half believing him, half betting he's the best liar since the last tavern's bard. You take another sip of ale, noticing a faint, gritty texture, and decide it's best not to question the barrel's contents. A young apprentice, barely old enough to shave, tries to join the storytelling, stammering about a haunted mill he swears he saw. His tale falters, but the lute player strums a eerie chord, saving him, and the room claps for his effort. The hearth crackles, spitting embers, and you pull your cloak tighter, grateful for its warmth in the drafty tavern. A woman in a patched dress sweeps through, selling herbs, her sharp eyes scanning for anyone with coin or a cough. You buy a sprig of rosemary, more for her persistence than any need, and tuck it into your pouch for luck. The sailor from earlier starts a new tale, this one about a mermaid who stole his heart and his best rope. His mate interrupts, claiming it was just a seal and bad ale, sparking a playful shoving match that topples a mug. The tavern keeper barks a warning, but her eyes twinkle, as if she secretly enjoys the nightly dose of nonsense. You notice a hooded figure in the corner, silent, watching the room with a stillness that feels out of place amid the noise. No one approaches them, and you wonder if they're a spy, a fugitive, or just someone who hates chanties. The lute player switches to a lively jig, and a few patrons leap up, dancing with more enthusiasm than skill. A farmer trips over a bench, landing in a pile of straw, but he laughs and keeps swaying from the floor. You tap your foot, tempted to join, but your boots are too heavy with mud and memories of last night's spills. A child darts through the crowd, swiping a crust of bread, and vanishes before anyone can scold them. The tavern's rhythm feels familiar now, like a song you've always known, despite being a stranger just hours ago. You raise your mug to the lute player, who nods back, her fingers still dancing across the strings. This tavern, like the last, is a fleeting haven, and you soak it in, knowing the road calls again at dawn. As the jig winds down, a blacksmith with hands like ham hocks stands, offering to arm wrestle anyone for a free mug. A wiry stable boy takes the challenge, and the crowd bets coins and bread crusts on the unlikely matchup. The blacksmith wins in seconds, but buys the boy a mug anyway, earning a cheer louder than the lute's last note. You munch your pottage, now cold, and marvel at how quickly foes become friends over ale and bruised egos. A peddler slinks in, his sack clinking with trinkets, whispering of charms that ward off wolves or bad luck. You pass on the charms, but his tale of a cursed forest nearby makes you rethink tomorrow's travel plans. The lute player takes a break, sipping mead, and a drunk patron tries to strum her instrument, producing a sound like a dying cat. She snatches it back with a laugh, launching into a bawdy song that has the room howling before the first verse ends. You catch the hooded figure's eyes for a moment, and a chill runs through you as if they know more than they should. They slip out the door, leaving only whispers and an untouched mug, and the tavern feels lighter in their absence. A barmaid refills your ale, joking that you're too quiet for a tavern this loud, and urges you to tell a story. You hesitate, then share a half-true tale of dodging a turnip cart, earning chuckles and a free bread crust. The night grows late, and the tavern keeper starts shooing out the drunkest, threatening to lock them in with the cat. You secure a spot by the hearth for the night, trading a coin for a thin blanket that smells faintly of straw. As you settle in, the blacksmith's snores rival the crackling fire, and you wonder what dreams this tavern will bring. Dawn creeps through the tavern's greasy windows, and you wake to the clatter of the keeper stirring last night's pottage. Your rosemary sprig is still in your pouch, and you touch it for luck, hoping it wards off bandits or bad ale. You step outside, the market already stirring, and spot the peddler from last night, now hawking dragon-proof amulets. With a grin, you head for the road, the tavern's laughter still echoing, ready for whatever lies beyond the next hill. Every tavern, every tale adds weight to your journey, and you carry them all, lighter than the mud on your boots. The road stretches through rolling hills, and you hum the lute player's bawdy song, its rhythm matching your steps. A raven croaks from a gnarled tree, watching you pass, and you wonder if it's an omen or just bored. By noon, you reach a crumbling stone bridge where a tollkeeper demands a coin or a tale for safe passage. You offer the story of the tavern's one-eyed cat, and the keeper laughs, waving you through with a gap-toothed grin. The river below roars, and you glance back, half expecting the cat to be following you across the bridge. On the other side, a peddler's cart rattles by, the same one from the market, now selling genuine saints' bones d'ya. You decline the bones but share a sip of his watery ale, swapping tales of taverns that make his eyes widen. He warns you of a village ahead, known for its surly lord, and a tavern that serves ale stronger than a horse's kick. You thank him and press on, the rosemary sprig in your pouch feeling heavier with each step toward the village. The village appears at dusk, its thatched roofs silhouetted against a fiery sky, and the tavern's crooked sign sways in the wind. You push open the tavern door, and a wave of heat, smoke, and shouting hits you, promising a night as wild as the last. The keeper, a woman with a scar across her cheek, sizes you up and points to a table already sticky with ale. You sit, and a farmer slams a mug down, demanding you guess whether his pig or his wife is better at finding truffles. You dodge the question with a laugh, offering a toast instead, and he grins, calling you cleverer than his pig. A fiddler in the corner saws at his strings, playing a tune so fast it threatens to set the straw floor ablaze. Patrons stomp and clap, and you join in, your boots leaving muddy prints on the floor's chaotic canvas. A serving boy drops a tray of mugs, and the crash is met with cheers, as if it's part of the tavern's nightly script. You scoop up a mug before it rolls away, earning a nod from the boy and a free refill from the keeper. The fiddler's tune slows, and a woman begins a tale of a knight who fought a storm to save her village. Her words paint the room quiet, and you lean in, caught in the spell of her story, mug forgotten in your hand. The woman's tale of the night ends with a storm's roar, and the tavern erupts in applause, mugs clinking like thunder. You join the cheers, your ale sloshing, and wonder if her knight ever drank in a tavern this rowdy. A wiry tinker at your table offers a dented tin mug for trade, claiming it once held a king's mead. You politely decline, suspecting it's more likely to have held last week's pottage, and he shrugs, undeterred. The fiddler picks up again, his bow a blur, and a barmaid leaps onto a table, dancing with a tray of mugs. She twirls without spilling a drop, and the crowd roars, tossing coins that she catches with a grin. You clap, amazed, and notice the farmer from earlier, now arguing with a goat he swears followed him inside. The tavern keeper shoos the goat out, muttering about animals and drunks being equally stubborn. A young monk, clearly out of place, sips watered wine and flinches every time the fiddler hits a high note. He mutters prayers under his breath, and you wonder what brought him to this den of ale and chaos. The fiddler's tune turns mournful, and a sailor begins a tale of a ship lost to a vengeful sea spirit. His voice trembles, and the room grows still, even the monk pausing his prayers to listen. You feel a chill, as if the sea spirit's breath lingers, and clutch your rosemary sprig for comfort. The tale ends, and the fiddler breaks the spell with a lively reel, pulling the room back to laughter and stomping. You buy a round for the table, earning a nod from the tinker and a suspicious glance from the monk. The keeper brings a steaming bowl of stew, warning it's mostly rabbit with a wink that suggests otherwise. You eat anyway, the warmth filling you, and decide that mystery meat tastes better with a full mug. A dice game starts nearby, and the farmer bets his lucky goat hair, swearing it's worth more than gold. The tinker joins in, offering his dented mug, and the game dissolves into laughter before a single die rolls. You lean back, mug in hand, and savor the tavern's pulse, knowing each night here weaves another story into your soul. As laughter from the dice game fades, a weathered knight in dented armor stands, offering a tale of a dragon he swore he slew. His scars and missing finger lend weight to the story, though the tinker mutters it was probably just a big lizard. You sip your ale, its bitterness now familiar, and imagine the knight facing a dragon in this very village's hills. The fiddler weaves a fiery melody as if summoning the dragon's roar, and the room pulses with the tale's energy. A serving girl, barely taller than the tables, refills your mug, dodging a drunk who tries to dance with her broom. She scolds him with a wit sharper than the keeper's knife, earning a cheer and a coin from a nearby merchant. The monk, still clutching his wine, starts humming the fiddler's tune, then stops, blushing at his own lapse. You catch his eye and nod, and he offers a shy smile, as if the tavern's warmth is melting his vows. A brawl erupts in the corner, sparked by a spilled mug and a misheard insult about someone's cow. The keeper leaps over the bar, club raised, and scatters the fighters like chickens before a fox. The knight laughs, saying he's seen worse fights over smaller cows, and buys a round to calm the room. You savor the free ale, its warmth chasing away the chill of the fight, and toast the knight's quick thinking. Peddler slips in, different from the last, offering lucky feathers he claims came from a phoenix tail. The farmer buys one, tucking it behind his ear, and swears it'll make his pig find truffles by morning. The fiddler's tune shifts to a lullaby, and the room softens, some patrons slumping into drunken dreams. You feel your own eyes grow heavy, the rosemary sprig in your pouch a quiet reminder of the road ahead. The keeper offers you a corner by the hearth for a coin, warning you to guard your boots from the serving girl's broom. You curl up on the straw, the knight's dragon tail mingling with the fiddler's lullaby in your drifting thoughts. Dawn's light creeps in, and you wake to the scent of fresh bread, a rare treat from the keeper's morning oven. You break the bread, its crust still warm, and step outside, ready for the road and the next tavern's tales. The morning air is crisp as you leave the village, the tavern's bread fueling your steps toward a forest path ahead. A squirrel darts across your path, clutching an acorn, and you half expect it to demand a toll like the bridge keeper. The forest closes in, its trees whispering with wind, and you grip your rosemary sprig, hoping it wards off more than bad ale. A distant horn sounds, and you spot a hunter with a bow, who warns of bandits lurking deeper in the woods. You thank him, quickening your pace, and wonder if the tavern's knight ever fought bandits as bravely as his dragon. By midday, you reach a clearing where a traveling minstrel strums a harp, singing of a lost kingdom to no one but the birds. You toss him a coin, and he shares a sip of cider, his song shifting to a lighter tune about a drunken lord. His laughter lingers as you leave, the forest path opening to a valley where a stone-walled town glimmers in the distance. The town's gates are guarded by a grizzled soldier who eyes your muddy boots but lets you pass with a grunt. Inside, the streets buzz with carts, children, and a preacher shouting about sin, though no one seems to listen. You spot a tavern sign, painted with a crude boar, and feel a familiar pull toward its promise of chaos and warmth. The tavern door creaks open, releasing a blast of smoke and a bard's off-key song about a lovesick blacksmith. You find a seat at a scarred table, where a weaver brags about a tapestry she sold to a lord's wife. She offers you a sip of her mead, sweet and strong, and asks if you've ever seen a lord's hall yourself. You shake your head, spinning a tale of the last tavern's night instead, which earns her wide-eyed nod. A juggler stumbles in, tossing apples and nearly hitting the bard, who curses but keeps strumming through the chaos. The crowd cheers the juggler, and you toss an apple back when it rolls your way, earning a theatrical bow. The keeper, a bald man with a limp, slams a mug of ale before you, muttering about keeping the apples off his floor. You sip the ale, sharp and cloudy, and feel the tavern's rhythm wrap around you like a well-worn cloak. With every story, song, and spilled mug, this tavern becomes another thread in your journey's endless tapestry. The juggler's act grows bolder, adding a knife to his spinning apples, and the tavern holds its breath as he wobbles. He catches the knife with a flourish, and the room erupts, showering him with coins and half-eaten bread crusts. You clap, your ale mug nearly empty, and notice the weaver sketching a pattern on a scrap of cloth, inspired by the chaos. She mutters about weaving the juggler's knife into her next tapestry, and you imagine it hanging in a lord's hall. A grizzled hunter bursts in, slamming a rabbit pelt on the bar and demanding ale for his day's work. The keeper pours him a mug, eyeing the pelt with a smirk, and you wonder if it'll end up in tonight's stew. The bard switches to a song about a fox outwitting a king, his voice cracking but the crowd singing along. You hum the chorus, catching the weaver's eye, and she tosses you a thread from her cloth as a token. A drunk tailor at the next table boasts he once sewed a cloak for a witch, then hiccups and spills his mead. The hunter laughs, saying the only witch here is the keeper's stew, and the room roars at the familiar jest. You take a cautious sip of the stew, finding it oddly tasty, and decide the hunter's jest misses the mark. A young girl, the keeper's daughter, sweeps the floor, humming the bard's fox song with surprising skill. The weaver notices, offering her a scrap of bright cloth, and the girl beams, tucking it into her apron. The night grows late, and the keeper dims the lanterns, signaling the rowdiest to stumble home or sleep where they fall. You negotiate a spot by the hearth, trading a story of the one-eyed cat for a scratchy blanket. The bard's last note fades, and the hunter's snores blend with the crackling fire, lulling you toward sleep. Dawn breaks, and you wake to the girl stirring a pot, her humming now a soft echo of last night's song. You leave a coin for her, slipping out as the town stirs, the tavern's warmth still clinging to your cloak. The road ahead winds toward distant mountains, and you touch the weaver's thread, a new talisman beside your rosemary. With every tavern behind you, the stories pile like stones, building a path you'll walk for years to come. The mountain road is steep, but the weaver's thread in your pouch feels like a promise of more taverns ahead. A hawk circles above, its cry sharp, and you wonder if it's hunting or just mocking your muddy boots. By afternoon, you reach a rickety shrine where a hooded pilgrim kneels, muttering prayers for safe travels. You leave a pebble at the shrine, a nod to the pilgrim's faith, and hope it buys you luck against the mountain's tricks. The path descends into a valley, where a hamlet clings to a riverbank, its lone tavern's smoke curling into the sky. A ferryman rows you across the river for a copper, grumbling about floods and the tavern's watered ale. You step ashore, the tavern's crooked sign painted with a fish, and brace for another night of stories and spills. Inside, the tavern is small but loud, with a fisherman boasting about a catch the size of a cart. You settle at a wobbly table, and the keeper, a wiry woman with braided hair, slides you a mug of frothy ale. The ale's better than the ferryman claimed, and you toast the fisherman, who winks and adds a wail to his tale. A storyteller, her cloak patched with stars, begins a tale of a river spirit who guards the hamlet's fish. Her voice is low and rhythmic, and even the rowdiest fishermen pause, their mugs forgotten in their hands. You feel the rosemary sprig in your pouch, wondering if the river spirit might judge your muddy footprints. A boy with a tin whistle joins the storyteller, his notes weaving through her words like ripples on the river. The crowd claps, tossing the boy coins, and he grins, tucking one into a shoe that's more whole than leather. A drunk cooper stumbles over, offering to make you a barrel for your fancy thread, mistaking it for gold. You laugh, declining politely, and he slumps into a chair, muttering about barrels and lost loves. The keeper brings a bowl of fish stew, warning it's spicy enough to wake a drowned man from the river. You take a bite, eyes watering, and the fisherman laughs, saying it's the river spirit's revenge for bad nets. The night deepens, and you lean back, the tavern's stories and stew warming you against the river's distant roar. As the spicy stew settles, a weathered miller stands, spinning a tale of a ghost who haunts the hamlet's creaking mill. His voice creaks like the mill's wheel, and the boy's tin whistle adds a chilling note that sends shivers through the room. You clutch the weaver's thread, half convinced the ghost is watching from the tavern's smoky rafters. The keeper laughs, breaking the spell, and claims the only ghost here is the fish in her stew. A peddler with a crooked nose slips in, offering haunted millstones that he swears hum at midnight. The fisherman scoffs, buying one anyway, saying it'll scare the river spirit into leaving his nets alone. The storyteller starts a new tale, this one about a mermaid who traded her voice for a fisherman's love. The boy's whistle mimics waves, and you imagine the river outside hiding mermaids beneath its rushing surface. A drunk sailor stumbles over, swearing he saw that mermaid last week, though his crew says it was just a carp. The crowd roars with laughter, and you join in, your ale mug raised to the sailor's blurry-eyed conviction. A weaver's apprentice, her hands stained with dye, offers you a scrap of blue cloth, calling it mermaid's tears. You accept the cloth, tucking it beside the weaver's thread, your pouch now heavy with tavern tokens. The keeper's daughter sweeps by, her humming now a mermaid's tune, and you wonder if she dreams of the river. A dice game starts, with the fisherman betting his lucky millstone against a sailor's rusty knife. The game ends in a draw, both men too drunk to count, and the crowd cheers their sloppy handshake. The night grows quiet, and the storyteller's voice fades, leaving only the river's murmur through the tavern's walls. You secure a spot by the fire, trading a coin for a straw mat that smells faintly of fish and dreams. The sailor's snores blend with the boy's soft whistling, and you drift to sleep, mermaids swimming in your mind. Dawn paints the river gold, and you wake to the keeper frying fish, their sizzle pulling you from mermaid dreams. You slip the blue cloth into your pouch, thank the keeper, and step into the hamlet, ready for the road's next tale. The hamlet fades behind you as the road climbs toward a windswept moor, the blue cloth in your pouch a quiet companion. A gust carries the cry of a distant sheep, and you pull your cloak tighter, the river's warmth now a memory. By midday you spot a lone cart, its driver a beekeeper offering honey for a tale of the river tavern's mermaid. You trade the story for a sticky comb, its sweetness cutting through the moor's chill as you continue on. The road dips into a hollow where a weathered sign points to a town known for its wool and rowdy fairs. You reach the town by dusk, its streets alive with lanterns and the bleating of sheep penned for tomorrow's market. A tavern sign, painted with a golden fleece, beckons, and you step inside to a roar of laughter and clinking mugs. The keeper, a stout man with wool in his beard, hands you ale and warns you to watch for pickpockets in the crowd. You find a seat near a shepherd who brags his flock's wool-clothed the bishop, though his patched cloak suggests otherwise. He offers you a sip of his cider, sharp and tangy, and asks if you've ever sheared a sheep yourself. You shake your head, spinning a tale of the river tavern's spicy stew instead, which earns a hearty laugh. A tumbler takes the floor, flipping and spinning, his bells jingling as he dodges a drunk who tries to join. The crowd tosses coins, and you add one, catching the tumbler's wink as he sweeps them into his cap. A ballad singer, her voice like honey, begins a song of a shepherd who wooed a star, silencing the room. You feel the weaver's thread and blue cloth in your pouch, as if the star's light lives in their humble fibers. The shepherd hums along, then boasts his sheep inspired the song, though the singer's smirk tells another story. A brawl nearly sparks when a wool merchant accuses another of shorting a bale, but the keeper's glare stops it cold. You sip your ale, grateful for the peace, and notice a girl weaving a braid, her fingers quick as the tumbler's flips. She catches your eye, offering a braided cord as a charm, and you accept, adding it to your pouch, growing hoard. The night deepens, and you lean back, the tavern's song and stories wrapping you in a warmth that rivals any fleece. As the ballad singer's song fades, a grizzled dyer stands, boasting he colored a lord's banner with dye from a single berry. The shepherd scoffs, saying it was probably mud, but buys the dyer a mug for the tale's audacity. You sip your ale, its warmth steadying you, and notice the braided cord in your pouch glinting in the firelight. A fiddler, his hat stuffed with wool, strikes up a jig, and the tavern floor shakes with stomping boots. The girl who gave you the cord leaps up, twirling with a grace that outshines the tumbler's flips. You clap, your mug sloshing, and the shepherd tosses her a coin, calling her the true star of the night. A peddler, his cloak patched with sheepskin, offers lucky wool charms, claiming they ward off tax collectors. The dyer buys one, tucking it into his belt, and mutters he'll need it for tomorrow's market taxes. The fiddler's jig turns wilder, and a drunk wool merchant trips, spilling ale that smells stronger than the keeper's stew. The keeper roars, wielding a rag like a weapon, and the merchant scrambles to mop up, earning laughs. You catch the girl's eye, and she offers a shy smile, her braid now adorned with a scrap of the dyer's cloth. A storyteller, his beard flecked with wool, begins a tale of a sheep that led a village to hidden gold. The shepherd nods along, claiming his flock's ancestor was that sheep, and the room chuckles at his pride. You feel the weaver's thread, blue cloth, and braided cord, each a stitch in the tapestry of your travels. A dice game starts, with the wool merchant betting a bale against the peddler's. Lucky charm, tensions high. The game ends in a tie, and both men laugh, sharing the bale and charm as the crowd toasts their truce. The night grows late, and the fiddler slows to a lullaby, lulling the rowdiest into a haze of yawns. You trade a coin for a spot by the hearth, the keeper tossing you a blanket that smells of wool and smoke. Dawn creeps in, and you wake to the scent of fresh bread, the keeper's gift for not joining the merchant's spill. You tuck the braided cord tighter, thank the keeper, and step into the market's clamor, ready for the road ahead. The Wooltown market hums with vendors hawking fleeces, and you weave through the braided cord, a talisman in your pouch. A pie seller offers you a hot pastry, trading it for a tale of the tavern's dancing girl, her eyes gleaming with gossip. You bite into the pie, its warmth a comfort, and head for the road, the market's clamor fading behind you. The path winds through barley fields where a farmer waves, shouting that his ale rivals any tavern's brew. You smile but keep walking, the rosemary sprig, weaver's thread, and blue cloth urging you toward the next story. By dusk you reach a crossroads inn, its sign carved with a stag, glowing faintly in the gathering mist. Inside, the inn is cramped but warm, with a harper playing a tune that feels older than the stones beneath your feet. The keeper, a wiry man with one ear, pours you ale and mutters about travelers bringing trouble or tales. You choose tales, sharing the Wooltown's sheep and gold story, and the keeper nods, sliding you a free bread heel. A traveler at your table, her cloak dusted with road dirt, boasts she outran a wolf with only a sling. The harper weaves her tale into his strings, and the room leans in, mugs forgotten, as wolves howl in their minds. You feel the braided cord, wondering if its luck helped her escape, and tuck it deeper into your pouch. A tanner, his hands stained dark, offers a leather strip, claiming it's from a stag that outsmarted a king's hunt. You accept the strip, adding it to your pouch's hoard, each token a story heavier than the last. The harper's tune turns lively, and a serving boy dances, spilling ale but earning claps for his clumsy steps. The keeper scolds but tosses the boy a coin, muttering that spirit matters more than steady hands. A dice game sparks nearby, with the tanner betting his last strip against a merchant's copper ring. The game ends in laughter, the ring and strip split, and you toast their truce with a sip of sharp ale. The night grows still, and you secure a straw pallet by the fire, the harper's final notes lulling you to sleep. Dawn's light filters through the inn's shutters, and you wake, the leather strip a new weight in your story-filled pouch. The inn's morning is quiet, and you step onto the road, the leather strip in your pouch a reminder of last night's wolf tale. A flock of geese waddles by, honking, and you sidestep, half expecting them to demand a toll like the river ferryman. The road climbs through rocky hills, where a goatherd offers you a sip of milk for a story from the Wooltown Tavern. You share the dyer's berry tale, and he laughs, giving you a small goat hair cord to add to your pouch's treasures. By noon, you spot a castle's towers in the distance, its banners snapping in the wind, promising a town below. The town gate is crowded with merchants, and a guard waves you through, eyeing your pouch but saying nothing. A tavern sign, carved with a crowned lion, glows in the dusk, and you push open its door to a wave of heat and song. The keeper, a woman with silver hair, pours you ale and boasts her brew once graced a knight's table. You settle at a table with a farrier who claims he shod a war horse that carried a prince to victory. He offers you a sip of his mead, thick and sweet, and asks if you've ever seen a castle's stables. You shake your head, sharing the Crossroads Inn's wolf tale instead, which earns a nod and a grin. A lute player strums a battle hymn, her fingers fierce, and the room chants, mugs raised to forgotten heroes. You join the chant, your voice lost in the roar, the leather strip and braided cord warm in your pouch. A squire, barely bearded, boasts he'll win tomorrow's tourney, though his patched tunic suggests otherwise. The farrier laughs, buying him ale, and you toast the squire's dreams, remembering your own road's hopes. A seamstress, her fingers pricked from needlework, offers a stitch charm, saying it'll bring luck in any fight. You accept the charm, adding it to your pouch, its weight a quiet promise of stories yet to come. The lute player's hymn slows, and the keeper dims the lanterns, urging the drunkest to find their beds or the floor. You trade a coin for a hearthside spot, the seamstress charm tucked close as you drift to sleep. Dawn breaks, and you wake to the squire practicing sword swings outside, his hope as bright as the rising sun.